At 9:14 a.m. on September 18, 2024, Thomas Ramirez stood in a storage facility near Center, Colorado, at 7,664 feet elevation, watching ventilation system monitors display 42 degrees Fahrenheit, while his grocery chain contract required maintaining 34 to 36 degrees Fahrenheit for long-term storage onions, preventing premature sprouting that would render product unmarketable for fresh sales after February. 57 years old, second-generation onion grower. 380 acres producing 19 million pounds annually for year-round distribution. The facility's primary refrigeration compressor had failed at 2:40 a.m. Backup systems were maintaining 42 degrees Fahrenheit, but couldn't reach specification. And his storage held 84 million pounds of yellow storage onions, worth $8.4 million at contract prices. Product that would begin sprouting within 96 hours at elevated temperatures, forcing sale as processing grade at 18 cents per pound versus fresh market 50 cents per pound. Standard practice said, emergency cool to prevent sprouting, except the $28,000 compressor replacement arriving tomorrow. And hope 36-hour temperature elevation remained below sprouting threshold. Ramirez had 380 acres, still unharvested with 10 days remaining in optimal harvest window. A second storage facility at 88% capacity, and Kroger's quality inspector scheduled to audit storage conditions in 4 days. He called an HVAC contractor in Denver. Someone could install temporary cooling capacity before sprouting destroyed $26.88 million in fresh market contract value. Colorado's onion storage system operates as America's high-altitude year-round supply network, 20,000 acres in San Luis Valley producing 520 million pounds annually of premium storage onions, requiring unique growing conditions where cool nights and intense sunlight create firm bulbs with tight outer scales, ideal for 8 to 10-month storage. Moving product immediately to 30-plus curing and storage facilities equipped with forced air ventilation, maintaining 34 to 36 degrees Fahrenheit temperatures and 65 to 70% humidity, preserving fresh market quality September through June. This is agriculture divorced from seasonal production cycles. The operating as continuous distribution where controlled environment storage enables grocery chains and food service operators to source Colorado onions year-round. Quality degradation occurs in hours when refrigeration fails, and contract penalties for sprouting or rot eliminate profit margins accumulated across entire growing seasons. Thomas Ramirez learned onion production from his father, who established the operation in 1986, when San Luis Valley growers were transitioning from lettuce and potatoes into storage onions, capturing premiums for high-altitude production characteristics and long-term storage capability. His father had grown 95 acres selling onions immediately after harvest to wholesale distributors at spot market prices, averaging 22 to 28 cents per pound. Ramirez expanded in 2005, increasing to 380 acres. Tueta developed year-round supply contracts with Kroger and Sysco requiring consistent monthly deliveries September through June, and invested $2.4 million in curing and storage infrastructure with precision climate controls. But year-round supply success created new vulnerabilities. When storage systems failed, contract commitments became liabilities where guaranteed monthly deliveries faced quality failures that spot market sales never imposed. The storage facility Ramirez operated cost $1.6 million to construct in 2016. The building held 100 million pounds capacity across multiple rooms, each with dedicated refrigeration, maintaining 34 to 36 degrees Fahrenheit. Humidification systems sustaining 65 to 70% relative humidity, preventing dehydration, and ventilation providing air circulation, preventing CO2 accumulation from onion respiration. And the cooling compressor, a 50-ton industrial refrigeration system, ran continuously September through June, maintaining temperatures that prevented sprouting while onions remained dormant. The system worked flawlessly for 8 years. Then it failed during peak storage season, when 84 million pounds sat vulnerable to temperature-induced quality loss. The economics were year-round contract-dependent and storage-sensitive. At Kroger contract rates of 50 cents per pound for storage onions maintaining firm bulbs, tight scales, and zero sprouting. Each acre yielding 50,000 pounds generated $25,000 in gross revenue. Seed costs ran $380 per acre for certified storage varieties. Fertilizer added $420 per acre for sulfur, nitrogen, and phosphorus applications, creating pungency and storage quality. Irrigation from center pivot systems, $285 per acre. Pest and disease management controlling thrips and botrytis, $195 per acre. Harvest costs, including mechanical lifting and bulk handling, $480 per acre. Curing, storage, and handling, 12 cents per pound or $6,000 per acre. Total costs, $7,760 per acre against $25,000 revenue. That left $17,240 profit per acre before equipment depreciation. Across 380 acres, Ramirez generated $9.5 million in gross revenue and $6.55 million in operating profit, after depreciation and facility costs. Actual net income around $1.82 million. But if storage temperature failures caused sprouting reducing onions to processing grade at 18 cents per pound, revenue collapsed to $9,000 per acre. Costs consumed $7,760, and profit dropped to $1,240 per acre. A 93% margin reduction, costing $6.08 million across the operation. The margin between fresh market premium and processing grade disaster was 2 degrees Fahrenheit maintained over 240 days. At 11:40 a.m., the Denver HVAC contractor had assessed the situation. Emergency portable cooling units could provide supplemental capacity within 6 hours, bringing facility temperature to 36 degrees Fahrenheit by early evening. Cost: $22,000 for rental and installation, plus $12,400 for expedited transport and overtime labor. Total: $34,400 to protect $8.4 million in stored onion value while waiting for permanent compressor replacement. Ramirez authorized the emergency installation. His daughter Sophia arrived at 1:20 p.m. to help coordinate harvest operations, while Ramirez managed the storage crisis. 32 years old, holding an agribusiness degree from Colorado State, she'd worked the operation for 8 years while recognizing that storage onion production had evolved from agricultural production into cold chain logistics management requiring expertise in refrigeration engineering, quality monitoring, and contract fulfillment that had nothing to do with growing crops. Sophia tracked data showing San Luis Valley onion production consolidating from 185 growers in 2005 to 68 operations in 2024, with average farm size increasing from 108 to 294 acres. Mid-sized growers were disappearing as storage infrastructure requirements and year-round contract commitments created barriers favoring either large operations with redundant systems or complete exit from onion production. Dad, we're spending $34,400 on emergency cooling to protect storage quality on onions we've already grown and harvested successfully. The agronomic work was perfect. But storage infrastructure failure destroys everything. That's modern onion farming. Growing the crop is maybe 35% of the business. Post-harvest curing and 8 to 10-month storage management is 65%. Then were cold chain logistics operators who happen to farm, not farmers who happen to store product. And when non-farming infrastructure fails, everything fails. Ramirez understood. Storage onion production had transformed from agriculture into food distribution supply chain operations, where technical infrastructure mattered more than traditional farming skills, and capital requirements for redundant cooling systems exceeded what family operations could finance sustainably. By 7:50 p.m., the emergency cooling units were operational, and facility temperature dropped to 36.8 degrees Fahrenheit by 10:20 p.m. and stabilized at 35.2 degrees Fahrenheit by midnight. Ramirez inspected onions at 6 a.m. September 19th, examining bulbs for premature sprouting and checking firmness. The visual appearance looked good, but sprouting could initiate internally before external evidence appeared, and quality degradation was cumulative across months-long storage periods. The permanent compressor arrived on September 20th at 11 a.m. Installation required 16 hours, including refrigerant charging and system testing. The facility returned to full operational capacity September 21st at 3 a.m. Total crisis costs: $34,400 emergency cooling, $28,000 compressor replacement, $9,800 installation labor. Combined, $72,200 consumed from what should have been a $1.82 million net income year, and the equipment failure had eliminated 4% of projected annual profit. Kroger's quality inspector arrived September 22nd to audit storage conditions. The inspector sampled 500-pound lots from 8 different storage rooms, examining for sprouting. None detected, acceptable. Firmness, maintained, acceptable. And outer scale quality, tight and intact, acceptable. All specifications met. The emergency cooling had worked. Product quality remained within contract requirements. But the stress of managing a 48-hour crisis where $26.88 million in contract value hung on temperature control had consumed Ramirez and his family completely. Thomas Ramirez continued onion farming through 2026, managing storage systems, coordinating monthly deliveries, and watching margins compress as electricity costs increased 31%, while grocery chain contract prices remained flat at 50 cents per pound. In spring 2027, Kroger announced new sourcing requirements. Onion suppliers must deliver minimum 40 million pounds annually beginning in 2028, a 110% increase over Ramirez's current 19 million pounds. Meeting the new minimum required expanding to 800 acres and investing $1.8 million in additional storage capacity, with redundant cooling systems preventing future quality crises. He met with Sophia in April 2027 to discuss expansion feasibility. The analysis was stark. $1.8 million storage investment against current net income of $1.82 million annually meant 1-year payback only if perfect operations with 0 equipment failures occurred. Assumptions that reality rarely permitted. Sophia had no interest in inheriting debt-financed expansion into an industry where buyer consolidation and volume requirements were systematically eliminating mid-sized growers. Sophia, we either scale up to meet Kroger's minimum, or we exit year-round contracts and compete in spot harvest markets at 28 cents versus 50 cents per pound. Dad, scaling up increases dependency on a single buyer who can change contract terms unilaterally. Spot markets mean competing with operations that don't carry storage costs. Neither option works at our scale. Thomas Ramirez sold his 380-acre operation to a regional produce corporation managing 3,200 acres across San Luis Valley in fall 2027. The sale, $18,500 per acre for land, plus $2.8 million for equipment and storage infrastructure, generated $10.03 million gross. After settling debt, Ramirez netted $4.62 million. Sophia took a position with Cisco as a produce supply chain manager, using her Colorado State agribusiness education and family onion knowledge to coordinate sourcing for the distributors who had replaced her family's operation. San Luis Valley's 20,000 acres continue producing 520 million pounds of storage onions annually at 7,500 plus feet elevation. Curing in forced air facilities and storing at 34 to 36 degrees Fahrenheit for 8 to 10 months. Supplying Kroger, Cisco, and regional grocery chains requiring year-round fresh onion availability. The mechanical lifters harvest onions regardless of farm ownership. The storage facilities maintain temperature regardless of who built them. The quality specifications determine marketability regardless of which families developed the production systems. The system functions through precision that family operations created, but can no longer operate profitably at scales too small for infrastructure redundancy and volume commitments buyers now require. If this story moved you, please like and subscribe. Your support helps us preserve these histories of American agriculture's transformation. Tell us in the comments where you're watching from and whether you understand the storage infrastructure pressures crushing specialty crop growers. Thank you for keeping their stories alive.